it's our gender that's recognized before who we are and what we have to say, whether it's through writing or public speaking, or even just at work among our colleagues. And so I would just encourage everyone listening to think a little more about the individual rather than their gender or race.
Greg asked me if I had any words of advice to offer men who may be about to accidentally say something offensive or presumptuous that might make a woman uncomfortable. So first of all, if you're in this situation and you're thinking at all about the fact that something you're saying could be seen as offensive and presumptuous, and you actually want to avoid that, then thank you. I can't speak for all women, but I'm fairly sure that I am not the only one who appreciates the fact that you're thinking about this. Beyond that, I guess that the most important thing to keep in mind is that although science shows that men and women are very similar in some ways, there are other ways in which they are absolutely not. And we can chalk most of that up to culture. Men have been told via movies and media that being hit on by a strange woman will probably lead to consensual sexy times, or else she will steal your wallet, one of those. But women have been told that when a strange man hits on us, we will either end up in a dumpster or crying on the floor of a shower, maybe unexpectedly pregnant, and if we've been very good or very lucky, we might end up in true love. Now, if you'll notice, we get a lot more negative in our potential scenarios than you do. But that said, when we meet you, we don't automatically think that you're a rapist or an axe murderer or our potential husband, for that matter. The thing is that we just don't know who you are at all. So all of these potential possibilities are still on the table. The only way to make it out of axe murderer / true love, basically unknown territory, is by giving us more information to work with. All women are different, and they have different responses to different situations, and it is difficult for some women to ignore those negative potential scenarios. And that's regardless of what your actual intentions are. When we're working with nothing beyond what you're wearing and your body language, a few benign conversation starters can do us both a world of good. Maybe try, "This conference is great, hey?" Or, "I like your shoes." Those kind of things aren't going to make most people uncomfortable, and it gives us a chance to see you as a person instead of a character in a scenario. And how we respond tells you a little bit more about us too. So I'm not saying don't talk to strange women. Just maintain an awareness of the fact that these situations can be more complicated for us than they are for you, and use that as your starting point. And keep in mind that intentions absolutely do count. But they count for a lot less if we don't hang out long enough to figure out what yours were.
Remember that most women have experiences of opening up too soon and getting hurt by a man who's a jerk. So please be patient and understand that it's not because we think you're a jerk. It's just because we don't have a way of knowing whether or not you're a jerk until you've proven it to us. Also, if you see someone who is being a jerk to a woman or another person and saying things that are dehumanizing, call them out on it. Let them know that it's not acceptable to dehumanize people.
What's an example of dehumanizing somebody?
Calling a woman a name that is about her physical appearance, saying something racist, homophobic slurs, and things that are perceived as jokes, but they're not funny, and they're actually very rude, and they don't represent a group of people who should be treated like people and not objects to be laughed at or mocked. Sometimes you may unintentionally say something that is offensive. If this happens, think about what you said, apologize, and say that it wasn't your intention to upset that person. Making excuses for said behavior isn't going to help diffuse the situation. You may lose potential friends. You may lose a potential mate because you were unwilling to apologize or compromise or look where someone else is coming from. And I think that is really important to understand that. And that doesn't mean that you made a mistake because you're a man. This could be just because you said something that was offensive because you just didn't think about it. and it happens to everyone. And that's good advice for everyone, is that when you make a mistake, apologize, make amends, and move on. It's good to think about things and what you're going to say before you speak. And if you have doubts about what you're going to say, if it might be offensive, especially if you're around someone you don't really know, it's probably best not to say it.